Let's talk about stencils. Hey everybody, it's Christina from Creations with Christina. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new to my channel, be sure to subscribe so you get notified when I post new videos. And don't forget to give today's video a thumbs up. As always, the links for everything mentioned in today's video will be down below in the YouTube description. Today we're going to talk about 5 of my favorite techniques I like to use for creating backgrounds when I'm making cards. Some of my favorite types of stencils are ones that help me create scenes for the backgrounds of my cards. This is a card that I made a while ago and used these 2 stencils to create my little grassy hill along with some clouds. I like to use Bristol cardstock whenever I'm blending because I feel like I get a smoother blend, but you can use any type of cardstock when you're blending your inks. You can use Distress Oxide or you can also use your regular Distress inks. And we're going to go ahead and just ink up our blending tool. Normally I would tape this down, but because I'm just doing a demo and showing you how this works, I'm not going to tape it down, but I'm going to just go ahead and start blending in my color. And I absolutely love the way this builds up and makes these backgrounds for me, since I am not the best and creative enough to create backgrounds without some kind of assistance. What I like about these stencils is that they also have some edges that you can create different types of backgrounds as well. So I'm going to use the edge of this one to create my clouds in the sky. And then of course you can use the main cutout or one of the cutouts of the clouds to create a cloud that's just floating. And there's a fun background that I created with just using these 2 stencils for creating my clouds and my little grass hill. Another way I like to use inks for blending is with layered stencils. I have this set of stencils that I started off with one layer with a lighter shade of pink. And then when I was done blending, I came in with the second layer and did a little bit of a darker pink to create that really simple background. All I had to do was just add a sentiment and a couple little gems, and I had a real simple 4 1/4 inch card. Another one of my favorite techniques is adding foil to my backgrounds. I just have a piece of black cardstock so that you're going to be able to see the transfer gel, which is this Deco foil transfer gel, along with my stencil. And this is going to create the sticky that is going to hold my foil onto my background. All I'm doing is just taking a little scoop of the foil and making sure that it gets into all the little cutout areas of my stencil. Once it goes on white, but when it's dry, it's clear. So as soon as you remove your stencil, you're gonna have this white gel on your cardstock. What you wanna do is set it to the side and let it dry on its own, let it air dry. You can use a heat gun, but you have to be very careful because it will bubble the gel. And I'm gonna go and clean these so that I can get all of the residue off of here and it doesn't dry permanently to my tools. I'm gonna set this aside to dry. And what I'm gonna do is I already have one that's already prepped. I used a piece of white cardstock on this one, and you can see the transfer gel on there, and it has dried down to clear. I'm gonna take a piece of rainbow colored foil and add it to the top. Now I'm using the rainbow foil because I used a confetti background, which would make for a really cool birthday card. I have my MINC, you can also use a laminator, but I have my MINC all set and heated up. I have it set on 3. I'm going to take my foil and my cardstock and put it into a transfer sheet and run this through my MINC machine. My favorite part is the reveal of the foil on our cardstock. I love this, and it creates a really cool background, simple background for making birthday cards. I just love the shine that this creates for the background of a card. Another fun stenciling technique is an embossing powder technique. I'm just going to use my Versamark ink. I have my stencil and a piece of white cardstock. All I'm doing is taking my Versamark and kind of smooshing it into our cardstock. Now I can go over this whole thing and create the entire background, but I'm just going to try to get some good coverage in the stencil. And what I'm doing is just kind of twisting the pad to push that ink into the background of the stencil. And one thing I forgot to do was use my embossing buddy to take away any of my static. So I might have some extra little bits that are gonna stick, but this is just an example. So just remember to use your embossing buddy. I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle my embossing powder on here. What I'm going to do now is use my heat gun to melt my embossing powder. So here's my sample that I just made, and here's one where I created the entire background using that stencil. Using the metallic style embossing powder creates that same effect you would get with the foil transfer. Spackle and embellishment mousse are so much fun to play with. I have a piece of black cardstock, so you're going to be able to see what I put down through my stencil. But I'm just going to show you the two different types. Now this is embellishment mousse, which is similar to a spackle. It's already colored and dyed for you, and I love this technique. As you work the mousse into the stencil, it kind of softens and gets a little easier to spread. But that is definitely a fun one to do. I'm using a silicone spatula, which is great because you could just easily take a baby wipe and wipe off all of the residue from your different projects. I'm going to also show you with the spackle, the whipped spackle. This is by Faber-Castell, and I'm going to go ahead and use this as well, just so you can kind of see. Now, again, this is not something you want to heat set because you don't want it to bubble up and crack the spackle or the embellishment mousse. I'm just going to add a nice little layer to this, and you can build this up pretty nicely and get a nice thick layer on this. I'm just going to do a nice thin layer so that it dries a little quicker. And then when I pull back my stencil, I reveal these really cool backgrounds that you can use on your cards. Here's a card I made using the embellishment mousse. I just created a simple background. I didn't fill in the full background, just a simple background down in the corner. Added some fall leaves from a stamp set, and then added a sentiment to create a really simple fall card. My last favorite technique, and probably the messiest, is using stencils with sprays. This is another Distress Oxide spray, and you can create some really fun backgrounds with this just without a stencil, but using a stencil with these is so much fun, but again, the messiest. So you want to go ahead and use some kind of box. So this is my spray box here, and I have my cardstock and my stencil inside here. I'm just gonna layer my stencil and my cardstock, and I did go ahead and shake up or twirl my sprays, but you can use any types of sprays if you have it's a Tattered Rose or a Lindy Stamp Gang or any of the regular Distress sprays. And I'm just gonna go ahead and spray a small layer, a thin layer, onto my cardstock. And again, my favorite parts of these are the reveals. I absolutely love this. Isn't that a fun background that you can create with stencils using different types of sprays? Now we can go ahead and heat set this so that we can dry it down and be able to put this onto our card. Isn't that a fun background? All you have to do is just add a sentiment or a stamped image to this and you have a real simple card. Another fun thing to do would be to use multiple colors and spray different colors in different sections of the stencil. Those are 5 of my favorite techniques for using stencils. I hope you enjoyed today's video. On the screen you're going to find 2 more videos you might enjoy. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!